the overseer named George Ford had done something that was deemed to be a terrible crime on the plantation. Right? Even Benjamin Chew, the owner, knew about it. We don't know exactly what it was, but a response was deemed to be essential. And so two young men, Jim, who was 18, and Aaron, who was 16, either volunteered or were chosen to go out one night and beat up the overseer. They did a very good job, and it appears that the overseer had to hide out for several days because he was so badly injured, because it took a week for him to write this letter to Benjamin Chew asking for help to come down. And as we know now, and probably as the enslaved people knew, Benjamin Chew never came. He never came down for any of these incidents. So they knew that there would be no help to come for him. This was also important because George Ford was one white man on a plantation with in between 40 and 60 African Americans. So he knew who had done this to him, but he couldn't simply pull them in and have them punished. He had to organize a group of other people to come in and punish them with him. And it took 2 weeks to get that together. So it was 3 weeks before these people were actually brought in, Jim and Aaron. And in fact, when Aaron was being whipped, he continued to damn the overseer and threatened to kill him. And this triggered another letter back to the Chews because the overseer said, I believe he'll do it if he gets a chance. Now, you might ask why these people weren't just taken off the plantation and sold or sent somewhere. And one of the reasons is probably because they were related to everybody else on the plantation, and it would have caused even more trouble if they were taken off. Now, the problem then is that George Ford had to work with these young men for another 3 years on the plantation, which must have made the tension incredible, knowing that, these people were right there and that, they had threatened to kill him. Now, there's a letter that came back from George Ford to Benjamin Chew 2 years later. This incident took place in August, and this letter that I'm going to read you came back in August also. This is during harvest season. So you need everybody out pulling in the wheat, pulling in all of the crops. I mean, this is almost a crisis time because everything has to get in before it rains, before it rots, before it over-ripens. So you need all your hands out on the field. And in fact, George Ford was having a very hard time with this. And I'll read you a letter that he wrote to Benjamin Chew. He said, "Since harvest begun, no less than 3 in 4 of the hands sick, which puts us very backward in our work, and the people are so slow and indolent about their work that I have no comfort with them. And some of them are so late home from their wives that they lose 2 hours in the time in the morning, and that 3 and 4 times a week. And as for the women, they are not worth their victuals for what they do." Now, what he's talking about here are all of the things that enslaved people could do to resist the authority of an overseer. And they could get away with this because he knew that if he did something about it, he would get beat up again. And the story here is that these two young men, they knew that they were going to get whipped within an inch of their life when they went out to do this that night. But they did it anyway because they knew it would buy some peace for their community. They knew it would buy some space so that people could go off the plantation and visit their families in neighboring farms. And they knew that it would keep the guy off their backs until the next time they would have to go do it.